We will get the opportunity to learn from an incredible leader who has been leading with faith. He's been in the Midwest for his entire life, but in Minnesota since 1987. The founder of Triune Leadership and a two-time author, it is my joy and privilege to welcome to the stage Mark Deterding.
Good morning, everybody. I can't tell you what an honor and what a real pleasure it is to be able to be with all of you here this morning. If ever there was a time where I felt like I was preaching to the choir, this would be it. Because all of you are here because you want to really play out your faith in the workplace. And that's really what we at Triune set out to do every day that we work with people, is really helping people into that every step of the way. And so today, I'm just, like I say, couldn't be more excited. We're just going to give you a quick snapshot of the whole aspect of leading Jesus' way and how you can go about playing out your faith in the workplace in a highly effective way. I spent 30 to 35 years in the printing industries, working at a couple of the largest printing companies in the world, leading thousands of people in the publicly held world, right? So you might think, well, you can't really play out your faith at work in that type of a setting. And what I'm here to work with you and tell you and share with you today is that you can do that anywhere and everywhere. And that's why I so love what Mark and the team at Faith Forward are doing here in Fargo. It's just really, really, really encouraging. It's inspiring, and to see the number of people that are here today to learn, that much more about how to go about doing that is just really fantastic. So let's dive in a little bit here. First off, these are a couple things that I'd like for you to leave with today. First off is just a clear understanding of how you personally can make a difference within your sphere of influence, right? Around servant leadership, through your servant leadership. I believe everything rises and falls with leadership. Everything rises and falls with leadership. The reason this is just so absolutely awesome, this event, is leadership. Mark Wallace, the job he and Sarah and the whole entire team of the Faith Forward movement it would not happen without great leaders that step into that. And so what I want to do this morning is really to help you to understand how you can step into that even more. I believe personal mastery leads to professional mastery, in your workplace. And so as you sit through this morning, I'd really like for you to think about, the model of leading Jesus' way in a number of different terms. One is personal. You heard from Kara this morning say, look at yourself personally and how you are as a leader. And that's where we want to first start as well. But also about in your family. What does this look like to build a high-performing family? What does this look like to build a high-performing organization? And then expanding it out to our community. And we're talking about in Fargo here, I've seen communities transform that have embraced this whole model of servant leadership and leading Jesus' way. But first and foremost, think just looking inside, holding up the mirror and saying, how can I do this? And I want to, basically give you some tools to be able to do that. And then lastly, I also want to lift you up for the work that you are doing in this area. I mean, each of you, it is so inspiring to see, 435 people here, in these next 2 days that are here because they want to enhance their skills of being able to play out their faith in the workplace. And so I know you're doing that every day. I mean, again, preaching to the choir here 100%, and I thank you for that. That's why I put my feet on the floor every morning, is to help people into that. And here we've got people that are doing that in such a big way. And so I thank you for that. And just really, 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 Jesus is smiling every day that each of you get up and go to work and start your day 100%. There's no question about it. So I always, again, everything that we do, everything that I always do is look back at the master servant leader, which is Jesus. And that's why I so love just listening to Kara already this morning. A number of the terms that she used, a number of the principles that she used, basically you're going to see in this presentation as well. Why is that? Well, we're all looking at the same leadership manual. Like Mark said, the best is Scripture. And so everything that you see here really is pulled out of Scripture. Why look at Jesus as the master? Well, I look at that and say, here's Jesus. He started out, he had a senior leadership team of 12 people, and he multiplied that into a following of 2.5 billion. So no matter what your faith is, you think about that and you think taking 12 people, investing into them in the biggest way, and then multiplying that to a following of 2.5 billion people, that's some amazingly effective leadership. So we can certainly learn from this incredible master servant leader of Jesus. So first off, a premise that I have is that Jesus wanted us to be great. He says that right here. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. So he said, this is what greatness looks like, is to serve, is to set out and serve each day, right? So how do we go about doing that? Well, I believe that's servant leadership. And Jesus gave us the pattern, the model, the process, the things that we need to do that every day. How do we get there? We look to God's guidance for that. He provides that in a great way. I believe the triune God is the most perfect illustration of servant leadership that there is. When you think about that, God the Father, the creator of all, created everything that we have to enjoy in this world. Well, then he sent his son Jesus to say, okay, here's the model that I want for you to follow in your leadership. So here's Jesus serving God. I'm going to go help, and I'm going to, help people to understand what servant leadership looks like. And then the Holy Spirit, so we all have the Holy Spirit living within us and helps us to step into that servant leadership. So they're serving each other within that triune God, and we can lean into all three of those for really our guidance on how to be a great servant leader. So this is the model that basically, after 35 years of leading in the corporate world, like I say, thousands of people, having billions of dollars worth of sales and operations responsibility and so forth, I learned a lot and I made a ton of mistakes. But I basically always, really from the start when I, was in high school, is I started reading Scripture with an eye towards leadership. I wanted to understand how Jesus did lead because I thought that would help me as I got out into business, when just playing on a baseball team, playing whatever. Could really help if I looked at Jesus and said, how did he go about leading? So through a ton of study of Scripture, through leading a lot of people over the years, I put together this model that basically described in great detail in the book, Leading Jesus' Way. And that's what I want to just expose you to today, because again, for those that work with me and so forth, I'm a very simple person. Very simple. I need things dumbed down to the lowest level as possible. But I do want things that absolutely I can step into each day. Somebody says, what does servant leadership look like? What does leading Jesus' way look like? I want to know and be able to share with them exactly what to do each day. What that looks like in our life. Personally, within our family, professionally, within our organization, and within our community. So this is really down to the basics, really what it is. It becomes this simple. This is servant leadership. First off, we got to build it on a foundation. Build it on a solid rock, just like Jesus said. But the foundation is our purpose, our vision, and our values. That needs to be very well clarified, as Kara said. Clarification, right? That needs to be understood. Guess whose shoulders that is, that rests on, to make sure that that's understood? It's a leader. And each of us are leaders. Leadership has nothing to do with the title here. I don't want you to be thinking about your direct reports. I want you to be thinking about yourself, right? First and foremost, you're a leader of yourself. You're a leader of your family. You might be a leader in your team at work. You might be a leader of an entire organization. You might be a leader within the community. So it pertains to all that for sure. But it rests on your shoulders to make sure the purpose, the vision, and the values are totally clear. Right? You don't offload that to other people. Then we need to bring energy. Kara mentioned energy in a big way. That's right in the model of leading Jesus' way. We need to get everybody engaged in the foundation of what we're doing, whether it's within a family, whether it's within an organization, whatever. Everybody's got to be engaged. And that's up to the leader to bring that energy to make sure that happens. We need to drive performance. Servant leadership and leading Jesus' way is not soft. It's not the easy way out. It's not soft. And we have to drive performance every day. Profitability, it's been mentioned already this morning. Never apologize for the need to be profitable. We have to be profitable to be able to play out our purpose from why we exist, right? And so we need to drive performance. The next one is relationships. We need to drive relationships in a big way. We don't do this leadership aspect in a phone booth by ourselves. It's all about relationships. I believe at the core, relationships are what drive results. The more we focus on relationships, the more you're not going to have to worry about what the results look like. The profitability is going to be there. The performance, the success, the significance, all that's going to be there. And lastly, what rests on top of this model is character. And that there's a reason it rests on top, and it's in a fulcrum piece like this, because if we as leaders are not people of high character, guess what? Everything tips over. You'll look behind you, and there's not going to be a person back there. They might be there physically, but they're not going to be there mentally with you if you're not somebody of high character. Very, very, very important. So that's the piece that pulls it all together. All right, let's dive in to a little more in each of these key 5 areas on what do you need to do to be able to do this. Again, back to the personal side. I would like for every single one of you in this room, every single person in this world, I would love for you when somebody asks you, what's your personal foundation, that you can recite your purpose, you can recite your vision, and you can recite your values just like that. If you can't do that, how are you playing that out on a day-to-day basis, right? And so this is something that we absolutely want to. Purpose answers the question why. Why do I exist? Is the answer to your personal purpose. Why do I put my feet on the floor every morning? My personal purpose is to glorify God by helping leaders to lead at a higher level, to enable them to achieve their God-given potential. I could not wait to get up this morning. When you get in line with your personal purpose, you don't need an alarm clock. I was up like at 5 o'clock this morning, flying out of bed. I'm so glad. Mark, thank you for putting me first on the docket of breakouts, because I couldn't wait. There's no way I could have waited till this afternoon. I could not wait, because this is my opportunity to play out my purpose, to help all of you to understand what leading at a higher level looks like. And when I say leading at a higher level is Jesus, right? There's no higher level than that. Looking at him, what that looks like, the more we model after that, the more you're going to be able to achieve exactly what God created you to be, that God-given potential. Your organization, it answers, why do you exist? Why does the organization exist? And again, if you're leading a team, if you're certainly leading your family, you should have a family purpose. What's your purpose in your family? And everybody in the family should be able to know and recite it and exactly what it is. Vision answers the question, what do we want to create? What do I want to create in this world? What's your preferred state? Again, it was talked about already this morning. What is your preferred state that you're wanting to create? And again, this is the one that so many leaders don't really focus on. They don't create that time and that space to think about that. It's a creative process, right? It's not, we're drilling down, we're getting the work done, we're producing what we need to produce. You need to break away just a little bit and say, what do I want to be true a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out? What does that look like? And really step into getting that documented so that you can really make sure that you're always tracking against, what that looks like. So don't leave that per chance. Make sure that you're taking the time to document yourself. What's your personal vision? What's your family's vision? What's your team's vision? What's your organization's vision? What's the organization for our community? You've got people like Faith Forward that have a vision for this community of Fargo. And it is very exciting, and you're seeing that play out, right here in these 2 days. to see people, really learning how they can play out their faith at work, glorify God within our businesses every step of the way. Values answers the question, how are we going to behave? We're on this journey of fulfilling a purpose, achieving a vision. Well, how are we going to behave on our way? What is that going to look like? That shouldn't be left up to question again, right? I mean, when you hear the term culture, what's the culture of an organization? That's values. Values plays out. Well, one of my encouragements on this is don't just come up with those 4 or 5, words, if you will. My values, spirituality, commitment to excellence, mutual respect and trust, and well-being of my body, mind, and spirit. Don't stop there. What's the definition behind each of those? Define it very clearly for you. What spirituality might mean to one person might be something totally different to somebody else. Define what that is, and then most importantly, behaviorally define it. What are the behaviors that you're going to agree to each and every day that as you step into, so that when you lay your head on the pillow at night, how did I do today on my value of spirituality? How did I do today on my value of well-being of my body, mind, and spirit? Well, if I don't have my behaviors defined to really log that, to know, I can fool myself, right? I think I did great today. Well, I only had 2 burgers at lunch, had, a few things of fries, whatever. No. Did I drink 100 ounces of water a day? Did I, basically only have 2,200 calories? Did I do my strength training? Did I do my wellness training? Did I fast today? Whatever, all those things, whatever behaviors that you want that illustrate those values, have that documented. It's the same in your family. Worked with families that do what we call a family portrait, lay out their purpose, lay out their vision, lay out their values, and have their children talk about it every night at the dinner table, how they played out one of their family values today. When they go off to college, they come back home and they say, Mom, Dad, thanks so much for helping us frame up what our values are. I can't tell you how many times it gave me the guidance on when to walk away from things in my first month at college, right? We might think that our kids are leaving with this. Don't leave it up to chance. Make sure that it is documented. And then this is the same in the workplace. Again, what was talked this morning, Kara, about clarity. Make sure every person on your team understands exactly what the expected behaviors are in the organization, on the team. And this is a part of this model that you cannot offload. You can't offload this to somebody else. Hey, I'm going to assign this, I'm going to delegate this foundation work to you. Think about your children. I'm going to designate our values to you or our purpose to you. No, this rests on our shoulders as leaders that you have to step into to make sure that is well understood. So if you do a test out in your organizations and you go out and say, just send somebody randomly out and ask people on the floor throughout the organization, what's our purpose of our organization? Will you get the exact same answer across the board? There's people in this room I know that have really committed to this. They're sitting about 4 rows back right here. You can hear from Vicki in this afternoon breakout session. They have 800 plus employees at Douglas Machine in Alexandria, Minnesota, and I will absolutely guarantee you, you go out and ask any one of them what the purpose of their organization is, and they will recite it just like that. And the same with their values, and the same with the behaviors. There is a reason that culture and where they're most, and Kara mentioned this morning, she wishes there was companies that, would be talked about at the halftime of Super Bowl. That's one of them, right there. In living color, that you can see when the leaders get intentional about doing these things on foundation, the impact that it has in an organization. It's unbelievable. All right. Jesus again modeled this. Here's his purpose. Said, for even the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. He had blinders on 100%. There's so many things he could have done. He was focused on one thing, that was saving each and every one of us. And he said, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm here to do. That's what I'm going to walk to do. I have come that they may have life and life to the full, John 10:10. He wanted each of us to have abundant life, and he was going to give his life up on the cross for us to do that. Total blinders, 100% purpose-driven, big time. Faith Forward, I just love this. This is their purpose, their mission. We're passionate about equipping leaders with the tools and community to live and lead like Jesus at home, at work, and everywhere in between. Is this conference right here just by chance and accident? No. This is Faith Forward playing out their mission, their purpose, 100%. And you see it in every aspect of what's listed here, 100%. You certainly see the passion. You certainly see the equipping of leaders, giving them tools, providing a community. And why? So that this community of Fargo and the surrounding areas becomes that much better and looking to Jesus for our guidance in a wonderful way. And that's what every organization there is, when they get locked down on purpose, vision, values, everything flows from there. If you try to jump this step, it's going to be chaotic because everybody in the organization, everybody in the family, everybody will not know exactly where we're going. And that's why this is a huge, huge step on the foundation piece. Next is building energy. This is my favorite part. This is my favorite part of building energy. Every day as a leader, going out and building energy within an organization and, basically getting people engaged in a big way. So again, what you'll see on each of these, and what I want to just give you a few things, is what does that mean? What does building energy mean? What do I do as a leader to do that? Again, that's what I want, action, right? Well, first off is clarify your foundation. So if you've got your purpose, vision, and values, don't just have it be wallpaper on the website or hanging in the lobby. If a leader goes through a day and hasn't talked about their purpose and hasn't talked about the values of the organization or whatever, holy cow, they've missed the mark. Because again, what are we doing? That's why we're doing it. And your people need to hear these things in every aspect and every day. So clarifying that foundation is going to drive people in to want to be a part of the organization. Again, Douglas Machine, enriching people's lives. People are racing in. Yeah, they're building some of the most high-tech packaging equipment in the world. People from all over the world are getting their stuff, but why do those people go to work? To enrich people's lives. Their clients, their co-workers, their community, the family, every aspect. And that's why they're excited to go. Well, if all we're talking about is, putting, pieces of machinery together and all that kind of stuff, and not talking about how we're enriching lives, it's not going to be as exciting for people, right? So always emphasize the purpose of the organization and why you exist. Next is worthwhile work. As leaders, make sure you're lifting your people up for what they're doing. Every last person in your organization is important. You can't do it without any last one. Everyone is. Well, guess what? That dishwasher in the back, room, or somebody that's making, the bed for people in senior living organizations, all that's just churning away. If a leader isn't telling them that their work is important and the difference it's making, all they think is that they're making a bed or washing dishes. But you can make their day by letting them know that without them, this organization wouldn't happen. We wouldn't be enriching lives, we wouldn't be changing lives, we wouldn't be doing whatever it is that you're there to do, and that will bring them energy beyond what you can imagine. Unbelievable. Next one, put people in control of the goal. I'm a big believer that the people that are closest to the action know better than anybody on what needs to be done, right? As leaders, don't be out telling everybody what to do if they're competent people. Allow them to do their work, allow them to be in their creativity, allow them to do the things, and when that happens, I will tell you, your organization will absolutely flourish in such a big way. So put your people in control of the goal, give them the license to make mistakes, that's okay, that's a learning opportunity, it's unbelievable what will end up happening. The next one, recognize people. If you only take one thing away from anything I say today, this is one I don't want you to miss. This one single thing can change the entire culture, the entire environment of any family, any organization, any friendship, whatever. Recognize people day in, day out. I always told my leaders back in the day, I said, here, let's just break this down and make it really, really simple. Here's your job. Your job every day is to go out and catch people doing the right thing and let them know how much you appreciate it. That's your role as a leader. Catch people doing the right thing and let them know how much you appreciate it. You cannot believe how this, if you can get a culture of recognition, a culture of gratitude, a culture of people looking intentionally for things going right as opposed to things going wrong, your organization will take off like crazy. So often leaders, what are they looking at? They're always focused on what's going wrong. I'm firmly believe that there's not a person anywhere that goes into work every day and says, I'm going to go in and see how much I can screw up today. Nobody's doing that. Everybody's coming in to do great work. So as leaders, we need to be looking for that great work they're doing and lifting them up for that every step of the way. And the last one is invest into people. Give everything that you've got. Servant leadership is not about holding things close to the vest and you knowing all the answers yourself so that you're more important than everybody else. It's just the opposite of that. It's open it up. Give everything you've got to your folks. Give everything, all your knowledge, all your insight, everything, and help them to achieve their God-given potential day in and day out. It's a big, big thing. And the best way to invest time, or the best way to invest in your people is time. Give them your time. I'm a huge advocate of one-on-one interaction, right? Not just sitting in your office, all day long. Get out, one-on-one interaction, invest your time. When your people see you investing time in them, their energy level will go sky high. When your kids see you investing your time in them, their energy level will go sky high. They know how busy you are. And when they see you coming home from work and focusing on them and giving them your time, their energy level will skyrocket. We've all got the exact same amount of time in our days, 24/7. Nobody has any more, nobody has any less, as long as we're living, breathing human beings. How we prioritize our time is what makes the difference. And you can energize people in the biggest way by prioritizing time for them. Next piece, build performance. Again, servant leadership is not soft. Never allow people to say that. That's one of the misnomers of servant leadership. Oh, it's just this soft, nicey nice environment. We're all trying to create this thing where, everybody feels good about being here and so forth. Servant leadership is all about driving performance, getting to the next level in a big way. We do that by getting the very best people on the team and by constantly raising the bar every day. In my world, web offset printing, it's hard to continue to, reduce waste, to run faster, all that, because the equipment's set. This is how fast it runs. And you set a new record, you say, you breathe for about 1 minute, you celebrate for 2 minutes, and then you say, how can we get to the next one, right? And that's what we need to be doing all the time, every step of the way. Jesus 100% modeled this. He raised the bar so high, it's unbelievable. You think about the time when they're sitting out after a long day, you got 5,000 plus people out in front of them, they're listening to Jesus talk and so forth. His senior team comes and say, hey, Jesus, these people are hungry, they're getting ornery, we got to let them go. He said, no, here's what I want you guys to do, I want you to feed them. You think he was serious when he asked them to do that? Feed these guys, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. All we've got is this young guy. He's got, a couple loaves of bread and a few fish. There's no way we could feed these people. Feed them. Now, he had to help them out in this particular situation, but they're the ones that did end up feeding them, and he was dead serious. There's no question about that. So Jesus expects us to do great things. He absolutely expects. And I love this verse right here. He says, I tell you the truth, anyone who believes in me will do the same works I have done and even more. How high is that bar when we think about the master servant leader? And Jesus said, you're not only I expect you to do what I'm doing, I expect you to do more. That's about as high as a bar as it can get. And I believe he does that absolutely on purpose. I believe he demands more of us on purpose. Why? because we realize the only way that we have any chance of getting that done is leaning into Him. I've been thrown in over my head for as long as I can remember. I've never been qualified for one job I've ever gotten. Not once. And I say, why? What's the deal behind it? Well, because it's not about you. You need to come to me and lean on me for help. And again, He promises that here. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God. He's there for you. He'll give it generously and without finding fault. He's going to give it to you. All you've got to do is ask. All you've got to do is ask, and He will 100% come through in such a big way for you. But that's why you're in those uneasy spots, right? As soon as I tell you, what I've always found that when I feel furthest from God is when things are going exceedingly well, and all of a sudden I forget where it came from, and I start beating my chest a little bit. No. And next thing you know, it'll bring us back just like that, right? And that's a good spot. When we're weak is when we're strong. Why? Because we'll lean into God for our help. A great friend of mine in Alexandria is Carl Vagness. His uncle is Pastor Morris Vagness. It was pastored a major, large church down in the Twin Cities. He had this prayer that I just absolutely love. It's the most simple prayer in the world, but it speaks to this big time. God, I can't. I'm in over my head. But guess what? I know you can. Please do, and then please never forget to thank Him. Thank you. I can't, you can, please do thank you. It's a beautiful prayer. Doesn't need to be any more than that. Every step of the way, when you're in over your head, which is every day, just think about that prayer big time. Building relationships, again, this is the core, I believe, of successful, high-performing servant leaders, is those people that really believe that relationships do drive results, and there's nothing more important in any of your days than going out and building relationship with people. And here's some of the ways to do that. One, mutual respect. I believe, first off, there's nobody that's any more important than anybody else in any organization. I always told, again, my leaders, here's what I never want to see you walking by somebody and not addressing them, not acknowledging them that they're a living, breathing human being. How often do we walk by in the halls, the busy halls, their communities or whatever, and we just blow right by them? What message are we sending to that individual as a leader if we do not acknowledge them? At least with a head nod, and a hi. Next best thing, call them by name. Next best thing, if you can stop and ask them a few questions about how their day went, how the ball game went last night with the kids, whatever. But at a bare minimum, you can always look them eye to eye and acknowledge that they're a living, breathing human being. Because if you don't, if you're running through the organization, again, hot, as Kara said, I mean, guess what? You have no idea what the message you're sending to them, but the message that's being received, holy cow, there just went my leader and they don't care one bit about me. They just act like I was another fixture on the wall here. That's the power we have, is every day we need to be making sure that we are acknowledging our folks every step of the way. Listen to people. I could talk for 4 hours just on this piece. Listening is the most important skill that you can have as a leader, to make sure you are listening to folks. Listening acknowledges others that they're important. And I could go on and on and on, but the more that you do step into listening and don't provide answers, the more people are going to be in relationship with you, want to be on your team, want to be led by you, right? Here's a challenge for you, just a quick aside. See if you can go through a day as a leader without answering one question. Don't become the answer machine if you expect to build relationships within your organization. Becoming the answer machine will do two things. One, it'll make your load extremely heavy, heavier than you can ever imagine. Everybody recognizes when they've got an answer machine in the business, and they'll just come to it, take the easy way out. The next thing is that you will delay progress in building leaders in the organization. There's no way that you can build leaders in an organization if you're providing all the answers, right? It's all about asking them questions and so forth to helping them get to the answer. Build on strengths, as Kara mentioned. Definitely put people in areas of strength. And then lastly, love. Love is the Key in all of servant leadership. It's 100% the key. Before I give you too much on love, I want to share this quick story real quick. This is the leper story where there was a leper laying in the, out in the street or whatever. He came to Jesus and said, hey, can you help me? Right? If you're willing, can you make me clean? Move with compassion. He reached out his hand, touched the man. I am willing, be clean. Leprosy immediately left him. I believe this is the most beautiful model of Jesus showing us how to build relationship. First and foremost, he was getting out in areas where close to somebody shouldn't have been. Society said, don't get close to a leper. As a leader, are you dodging the lepers of the world? Are you walking around or are you walking in proximity to them? Are you getting close to them to hear their requests? Are you getting close to them to show them compassion? It's easy to go around the block. Jesus modeled the way to not do that, right? He was approachable, he entertained requests, took no offense, engaged emotionally, met that person's deepest need. This is what relationships are all about. Slow down enough to see people. As leaders, I can tell you that you can save lives by slowing down and making sure that you're seeing people. I've had 3 people in the last year where people came back and said, this leader, this line supervisor saved my life because they noticed something was off. I was ready to commit suicide, and that person put their arm around me and said, something's off here. What can I do to help? I want you to take off. I'm giving you my PTO. I've got 2 other people that will give you your PTO to go out and get help, save their life. The only way they did that is they noticed. They got proximate, and that's what relationships are all about. And a lot of that is from this lead with love. Again, in 1 Corinthians, Paul basically told the church of Corinth, this is what love looks like. You've all heard these verses many times at a wedding, right? This is the love passages. I call this the leadership passages in Scripture. Basically, it talks about agape love. It's the 8 behaviors of love. And we as leaders have the opportunity to step into that or not. 1 is patience, kindness, humility, respectfulness, selflessness, honesty, forgiveness, and commitment. Those 8 behaviors that they talk about in there, that as leaders, we have that choice every day. Am I going to be patient or am I not? Am I going to be kind to this individual or am I not? It has nothing to do with how you feel about that individual. When the Bible says love your enemies, they're not talking about the intimacy of love or the feelings of love. They're talking about agape love, the behaviors. You can absolutely step into being patient, kind, selfless, respectful, forgiving every day. The more that you do that, your relationships are going to go absolutely north. Last one is building character. We absolutely have to be out in the mix. We cannot just sit in our office all day long. We need to be out. Otherwise, people have no idea whether you're a person of high character or not, right? They're not going to assume, oh, there's a person of high character. They get out of their car, walk into their office, close the door, and then leave at the end of the day and walk back out. Wow, there's really a high character person. I can't wait to work for them. That's not what's going to happen. You need to be out and about with the folks. You need to demonstrate value and appreciation like we talked about in building energy. Just a smile will go a long way. Put it really simple. And then lastly, you need to walk the talk. Absolutely walk the talk. You need to align your actions with all the words that you've said, right? If people see you if one of your values is, mutual respect, and they see you blowing by people in the hallway, what are they going to believe, do you think? Are they going to believe what's on the website? Or are they going to believe what they see you doing each and every day? We need to make sure that we're walking the talk. This is the way that we step into high character in such a big way. Jesus was the most perfect model of this, again, of anything I know. On that last day or so before he took the walk to the cross, he had his senior leaders around. They were having a meal together. They'd walked a long ways to get there. What's the tradition that, when you sit down for a meal, you don't sit down, you're sitting on the floor, everybody's feet's right into people where they're eating and so forth. So what? You have to wash people's feet, right? Who are the people that are supposed to wash the feet? What was the custom back in the day? Well, it's the lowest of the low. Whoever's the lowest on the totem pole in any household was required to wash people's feet. Who threw the towel over their shoulder at this last meal with the senior leaders? Jesus throws the towel over his shoulder, washes the people's feet, said, this is what it looks like to serve. I want to illustrate with you in living color, not just by what I say, but what I do. Washed every one of their feet. And then what did he do? Took the walk. Nobody had understood it in all the times that he talked about this, but he took the walk to the cross. The ultimate modeling of what servant leadership looks like. Gave up his life for each and every one of us. Whoa, that's the master servant leader. That's what servant leadership looks like. Each and every one of you in this room are highly successful leaders. You wouldn't be here today if it was not the case. You're highly successful. I can say that unequivocally. But the things that we're talking about today move to a whole different standpoint. Moves from success to significance. Success to significance. It's about the things that are going to be talked about on your last dying day. When you're laid to rest and people are at your visitation, I will guarantee you 100%, they will not be talking about how much money your organization made in the fourth quarter of 2025. What they will be talking about is the difference that you personally made in their life. The day that you walked alongside them when they were having a tough day, who was the first person that came alongside them and said, hey, I'm here for you. Let's walk this out and let's, help out. It's the day that you helped them to achieve something that you never thought that you would ever achieve. You were that person to take them to there. All those things, all these things that we talk about that Jesus modeled so beautifully, that's what we have the opportunity to do every day. And guess what? It's a one by one. It's not about the masses, right? We can get overwhelmed with the magnitude of what's happening in our world today, but it's about every single personal interaction that you have in each of your days. Again, you've all got a unique platform. Every single one of you is seeing different people in every different day. How are you using that platform? How can you be intentional about making that one impact that will then go out? It's all about multiplication. Multiplication starts with one. Jesus invested into 12 senior leaders, turned into $2.5 billion. I've seen what this does when people embrace this model of leading Jesus' way and the impact that it can have on the world. The impact it has on people's lives. People said, holy cow, I met Jesus through learning how to be a better leader, to read his way. That makes my day. That's what it's all about. And I've seen organizations transformed from what they once were to what they become today. I've seen communities transformed where leaders in the community, just like what's happening here in Fargo, turns in and transforms an entire community that goes out and impacts the entire state of North Dakota, the entire United States of America. That's my heart for each of you. I, again, thank you, each of you, so much for the work that you're doing one by one by one by one to impact people in a significant way and impact this world. Thank you so much.